Good morning. Welcome to your program agenda. Thank you for joining us this morning on the fourth day of August 2023. It's a Friday. Thank God that on this particular Friday here in Metro Manila, the sun is shining brightly. Mukhang sampay na kayo ng labahin ninyo, as they say. Thank you for being Cignal TV subscribers, viewers of Agenda on channels 8 and 250 of One News and Cignal TV. Maraming salamat to PLDT Home Fiber Optic Internet for keeping us connected with our beloved viewers. Thank you also to all of you who catch us via Facebook and on YouTube, and of course, the Cignal Play app. Today, we will be talking once again about financial literacy, about what you can do to prepare yourself for the inevitable. I've been studying a lot of stuff on global trends, and from the looks of it, up to 2024, economies, the major economies are still going to be struggling. And when the major economies struggle, people like, countries like the Philippines will likewise suffer. So what we are doing here on the program agenda is to do our best to give you information, help you, give you tips, try to educate our viewers on what they can do to be financially literate, to prepare, and we will do that today. But before we do so, let's go to our daily starter. And it also comes from a financial advisor, and her name is Tiffany, the Budgetnista. Alish, okay, and this is what she says. Your money will never do better than your mindset will allow. Regardless of how much money you may have, how much money you make, etc., if your mindset is negative, if it is positive, whether it is proactive, whether it is informed, the money you have won't perform better than how your mind performs. So if you are a person who does not like just keeping the money in a box, you want to grow your money, then your money will grow. But if you are a person who spends your money before you even earn it or before you even get paid on payday, well, you can imagine what the outcome will be. So your money will never perform better than your mindset. So please remember that. Let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star. And here, sorry, we have a headline: DBM chief defends fund hike for Intel BBM trips. The higher allocation in the proposed 2024 budget for intelligence and confidential funds, as well as for President Marcos' local and foreign trips, would benefit the country. The Department of Budget and Management, DBM, said yesterday as it defended the increase amounting to more than 600 million. The Marcos administration has proposed a 9.2 billion peso outlay for confidential and intelligence funds in the 5.768 trillion National Expenditure Program for 2024, higher by about 120 million than the same amount set aside this year. I believe our viewers should really pay attention to this, because one has to wonder, or one has to remember, that 9.2 billion confidential and intelligence funds that various government offices, agencies, including the Office of the President, is not subject to public scrutiny. Okay, may report sila pero they can do with it as they wish, and the suspicion is it will all end up becoming campaign funds. I'm sorry, but unless we are at war, we are under siege, we are under attack, or we have an active rebellion, you have to wonder, ano ba ang pagkakagastusan ng 9.2 billion pesos intelligence fund? Is the intelligence in government so low, so poor, you need money to make up for it? Sorry. Anyway, the top of the front page, Senate sets probe on severe flooding in Luzon. And chances are they will be investigating what are the causes, who to blame, etc. Why don't we ask all the congressmen and the senators to report to the people what they did with all the money for flood control projects in their different districts, lalo na po yung mga mayor. Don't investigate the cause of the flooding, investigate where all the money for flood control programs went. And further down from the header, we have a photo of President Bongbong Marcos chatting with his predecessor, Rodrigo Duterte, who reportedly gave him advice during their meeting at Malacanang the other night. Let's just hope and pray that it is advisory. Okay, advisory in nature, because as you all know, former President Rodrigo Duterte visited China, and I personally suspect that the president had a message for BBM regarding the massive presence of American military facilities in the Philippines. May nagsabi nga sa akin na medyo marami-rami raw na mga fighter jet dyan sa Clark. Sabi-sabi lang naman. Okay, public schools to open August 29. Public elementary and high schools will start the next school year on August 29, the Department of Education announced yesterday. Private schools, meanwhile, may choose to open classes on any date starting the first Monday of June, but no later than the last day of August. So there you go. And the center photo of the Philippine Star is a photo of a moon crater. Vehicles slow down as they approach potholes on Rojas Boulevard in Manila yesterday. Continuous rains brought by back-to-back typhoons and monsoon have damaged still to be rehabilitated portions of the major thoroughfares. Let me just point out, napaka-silent ng Secretary of the Department of Public Works and Highways, and perhaps we should invite the Korean experts who used to build beautiful roads all over the Philippines in the 60s and 70s. Ngayon po, wala nang marunong sa DPWH gumawa ng kalsada because it's all being made by private contractors. Dati gumagawa pa ng kalsada pati yung Philippine Army. Now, wala na. Patsi-patsi na lang ang kalsada. You know you're in Metro Manila when the roads become uneven, rough, and full of holes. Meanwhile, another irritating news, aside from the 9.2 billion intelligence fund, we have news, 30 million yearly. That's BSP finance chief's highest paid government officials. Essentially, the COA has come out with its 2022 report on salaries and allowances, or ROSA, and it is so rosy for the head of the BSP and finance chiefs. Executives of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas have dominated anew the COA's annual list of highest paid government officials, with former Governor Felipe Medalla topping the list with a net pay of 34.173 million last year. Naku po, more than 2 million a month. 2 million a month nga ba? Tama, times 12. So more than 2 million a month lang naman ang sweldo. For many of us, hindi natin kikitahin yung ganyang klaseng pera in a lifetime, but that's why so many people want to become the Secretary of Finance, a Governor of the BSP, etc., etc. Ayun po. Meanwhile, over 200 corporate officers face tax evasion raps. Yung photo po na yan, that you see on your screen, boxes of tax documents are delivered by Bureau of Internal Revenue officers to the DOJ in Manila. Yesterday, the BIR filed 127 criminal cases of tax evasion against 214 corporate officers linked to the 6.1 billion delinquencies under the Run Against Tax Evaders program. Ayan po, no? 6.1 billion money compared to the 9.2 billion intelligence funds that you cannot investigate. Okay. Meanwhile, Gatchalian, Senator Win Gatchalian, declares process observed in waterfront reclamation project. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian has maintained that processes were observed involving the 318-hectare reclamation project of the Waterfront Manila Premier Development, Inc., led by the senator's family. I don't deny that father is connected to the project. I know for a fact that the reclamation project here behind the Sofitel Plaza all went through the process according to Senator Gatchalian. Meanwhile, if you recall, the other day, I read the news in the Philippine Star for you, where the U.S. Embassy had raised their concerns about this reclamation project because Chinese contractors who were blacklisted were involved in the project. Okay, now, ito po, lumabas kahapon, I picked up on the news that the U.S. Embassy reportedly is bothered by this reclamation project because recently or some time ago, binaha yung compound ng U.S. Embassy. The U.S. Embassy compound experienced flooding. Now, at the time when we are all complaining about flooding in Metro Manila, Bulacan, Pampanga, everywhere else, the issue is what happened to the flood control money. And of course, all of this reclamation and construction. Yung South Luzon, binabaha na, expressway, North Luzon, expressway, binabaha na rin. And the operators are getting the criticism when in fact, we should be asking, ano silbi ng mga city engineers, provincial engineer, DPWH. They were the ones who should have been on top of all this construction that are now causing the headaches to facilities, expressways that did not have these problems in the past. Ayan po. Tapos, meron pang mga members of Congress sinisisi yung wala namang pake. Okay. Let's wrap up with the news. We have a photo of Toyota Motor Philippines officers launching the new Yaris Cross. Ayan po. And next to that, SWS survey, more Pinoys went hungry in the second quarter. More Filipinos have experienced involuntary hunger in the second quarter of the year. A recent survey conducted by the Social Weather Station. The June 28 to July 1 survey with 1,500 adult respondents reported that 10.4% of Filipino families did not have anything to eat at least once in the past 3 months. Yun po, while government officials are asking for 9.2 billion intelligence funds, while government officials are being paid 32 million a year, we have more Filipinos who did not eat at least once in the last 3 months. Ayan po, okay. Trudeau and wife separating. Justin Trudeau announced yesterday on his social media account that after a long process, he and his wife have decided to separate. So there you go. That's the front page of the Philippine Star. My apologies kung medyo nag-editorial at nag-commentary tayo this morning, but it is so upsetting. In fact, there is now a petition online regarding the flooding in Bulacan, Pampanga, where netizens are calling for people to sign the petition once and for all for the government to do something, or else let's all make it an election issue. Gawin nyo na ring election issue itong 9.2 billion pesos na gagawing intelligence fund, etc. Okay, let's go to our topic for today. And let's roll out the Betamax. Gab Malyari, please do the honors.
The government is expecting a slower inflation rate in July. From June's 5.4% inflation rate, the BSP or the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is forecasting a headline rate within the 4.1 to 4.9% range. BSP said this is caused by cheaper electricity cost as Meralco lowered its power rates last month. The central bank also attributed the projected lower rate to the decline in prices of meat, fruits, and fish items. If BSP's forecast is realized, this would be the first time in 15 months that the inflation rate will drop below 5%, which is welcome news for Filipino families. How could this impact personal finances? Let's further discuss this matter on today's agenda.
Fitz Villafuerte is an award-winning registered financial planner. He was recognized by Money Sense magazine as one of the top 12 most influential people in personal finance in the country. Villafuerte's blog, Ready to Be Rich, won several awards, including Best Business and Finance Blogs at the Philippine Blog Awards. Aside from being an acclaimed financial planner, Villafuerte is also a registered civil engineer, an author, and a trainer for various corporate and socio-civic organizations in the country.
Good morning, Fitz. Welcome to the program agenda, and thank you for making time to join us this morning.
Hello and good morning sa'yo, Cito, and good morning to all our viewers. And I'm happy to be here, and I'm honored na I was invited for today's episode.
Well, thank you. We know that it's kind of mixed signals. If you look at the video, you know, the BSP is saying, oh, we are going to have lower inflation, etc. But if you look at the headlines and the news in the last 3 days, all the government, local and national officials are saying the damage to agriculture hit in the billions, the damage to infrastructure hit in the billions. We have El Nino. And I don't know if you have been studying the data, the analysis from different people abroad, particularly in the US. If I follow what they say, we're headed for a disaster. What have you seen on your end of the spectrum?
What I've seen is that since the world economy is still trying to recover from the effects of the pandemic, uh, the the future or the next few months up to next year will still be very volatile, meaning there will be a few weeks where the economy seems to be recovering and doing well, but there will be other times when uh, everything seems to be going down again.
Mhm.
So when it comes to inflation, for example, the prediction of the BSP that the inflation will be going down, it's as good as for the next 2 months only. We don't know what will happen towards the end of the year and even early next year. Most of the reports from economists, local economists that I've seen, is that inflation can still go up to around 6%, 5.5 to 6% by the end of the year. So even if there are news that we see that the inflation is going down, hindi siya immediately na nararamdaman eh. Plus, by the time when the prices starts to somehow go down, there will be probably new updates, new economic developments that could affect the prices of commodities to go up again after a few weeks or after a couple of months. So it's really erratic. No one can precisely predict what will happen. And that's precisely the reason why we really need to be updated with what's happening globally. For example, just a few days ago, the US Fed decreased the interest rate, lowered the interest rate, which will probably be the same for BSP. So when it comes to our money, it's good to be updated with what's happening because that will definitely dictate how we should deal with our personal finance and how we invest for the next few months up to next year. Yeah.
Okay, when I talk to ordinary people on the streets, like for instance, when I returned from Taiwan, I didn't watch the SONA. I asked ordinary people, and they all said, "Hindi ko pinanood. I didn't watch it." They were apolitical. They were not interested in the SONA because, as far as they were concerned, I'm going to work. I have to work. I have a job to do. The SONA isn't going to impact my life. It makes no difference in my life. Now, recently, there were already announcements just before the series of typhoons that the Philippine economy is on the way to recovery. It is one of the best performers, they claim. And then the critics said, best performer ka from zero. Now, how do you deal with this? Because to the ordinary Filipino, does it matter? All of this inflation, recession, etc., reduction in interest rates. How does it affect them? Anong pakialam nila dyan, Fitz? I'm using it the street lingo.
Well, I think the first problem that I see is that pagdating sa mga State of the Nation address, not just the recent one, but in previous years, a lot of it is, I would say, hindi naiintindihan ng ordinary Filipino. That's why if there's SONA happening, hindi sila fully interested or fully invested. Sometimes, even some of my friends, they will just wait for the summary that the newspapers, the media will come out with, no? However, what is more important is kung ano yung nasabi sa SONA, dapat nararamdaman siya ng mga tao. Kasi if for example, the headlines that I see in the newspapers about what was said in the SONA is something that I could feel, then probably I will have more interest in the next SONA, in next year's SONA. But
Mhm.
more often than not, wala no, for the
Okay.
past several years. Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of you're a financial planner, you give a lot of people and corporations advice. You're also a trainer like myself. Now, what are the things that people or our audience should focus on? Because as you may have noticed here on Agenda, we've been featuring quite often people who can teach about financial literacy because unless people know how to handle money and read the landscape, so to speak, they're going to be subject to surprise. Ang ayaw namin mabulaga yung mga viewers ng Agenda. What should they watch out for?
All right. So it's first important. It's first to what is important is to first know ano ba yung mga nasa control. So there are out of our control, and there are things that are within our control.
Mhm.
Some of the things that are out of our control is the decisions that our local government and national government will do when it comes to the policies. But what is within our control is, of course, taking care of our personal finance, how we save, how we budget. We don't have control over the prices of the commodities, but we do have control over how we spend our money. The most that we can do right now, of course, is to really look into our spending. It can start with as little as as simple as tracking our expenses, and then seeing where we can cut or minimize our spending on, and then also probably find alternatives to the usual expenses that we have. For example, kung mahilig ka sa mga branded na mga, for example, detergent, sabon, the things that we often use, then probably you can try yung mga more affordable brands or even yung mga store brands that
Mhm.
could work for you. These are just examples. I myself, what I do is I try to barter services with my friends. For example, I have a friend who needs some financial planning. So sabi ko, I can offer you some financial advice in exchange for a service that they have. And yung friend ko, for example, is a graphic designer. So sabi ko, can you do some graphic design for me? In exchange, I'll give you some financial advice, investment advice. So it can be a way for you to save money on, no? Of course, it's very important to look at our free time and our skills and see if there's a way for us to earn extra income. Hanap tayo ng racket or side hustle.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Fitz, let's not jump ahead of the cart as they say,
Okay.
no? Kasi alam ko ang dami mong mabibigay. But ano yung first thing? Because when I listen to all of these experts, they always say, okay, first understand your situation. Know your situation, know your resources, etc. Ikaw, when you conduct studies or do assessments of people, company, let's say I came to you and I say, Sir Fitz, pwede bang magpagawa ng financial planning sa'yo or strategy? What would be the most important information you need?
I would need a list of your expenses. So you need to track your expenses. Pag
Mhm.
sinabi kasing you need to save or you need to budget, it can still sound overwhelming to a lot of people. My first advice really is to spend the next few weeks to list down yung expenses mo. Magkano yung usual na nagagastos mo every day.
Mhm.
Kasi you can get an idea how much do you spend on transportation, how much do you spend on food, etc. And then personal finance is personal. So it's not really up to me to tell them na oh, tanggalin mo tong kape mo, tanggalin mo tong ganito. It's really about them realizing na what are the things that I spend on that I can sacrifice, I can probably eliminate for now because my budget is tight.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
interesting, Fitz. No, I like your style because most people will always say, "I know I am spending a lot, so I will just earn more." or other people will say, you need to know how much money you have, what are your sources of income, etc., so you can budget it. But you're saying, and you're aligned with some of the people I study, that you need to know your behavior, your spending behavior. You need to have a budget. And only when you realize o naintindihan mo na paano mo ginagastos yung pera mo, can you appreciate whether you're right or wrong. You as a financial advisor, don't pass judgment. Hindi ka judgmental.
Oo, wag. Kasi pag judgmental ka agad, some people actually, they become resistant to your advice, no? Kasi parang you don't want to sound across as preachy. And I like telling my own experience. That's why this is really my first advice, to monitor your expenses. Write down, no? May mga cellphones na tayo, madaling mag-note kung ano yung mga gastos natin, because sometimes there are expenses that we don't even realize we're doing. Nung nag-opisina ako, I did this exercise and I realized na madalas pala ako bumili ng mineral water kasi I get thirsty a lot, uhawin ako. So I realized na in a day, I would probably buy 1 or 2 bottles of mineral water because I don't want to be thirsty while I'm on the commute, no, habang nagko-commute ako. So just a simple exercise of tracking my expenses made me realize na magdala na nga lang ako ng water bottle, magbaon ako ng tubig, I can save up on 20-30 pesos, which again, if you sum it up for the whole month, that's around 600-700 pesos na pang-load ko na rin sa cellphone yon, di ba? So there are expenses that we can definitely eliminate, but the first thing is to know ano ba tong mga to. Plus, yun nga, we will be able to get to know ourselves better when we write down our expenses. Sometimes we do things naka-autopilot kasi yun talaga yung yung naging routine natin. And we can definitely pinpoint the things that we do in our daily lives na mapapaisip ka na I think I can definitely sacrifice this expense because this is not really important. So yeah, tracking your expenses is really the first step. It's simple enough to do. And while doing it, definitely, I assure you, may mga sarili ka na rin maiisip na mga pwede mong gawin para makasave or makatipid sa gastos mo. So
I remember, Fitz, many years ago when I was working in another organization, I would spend approximately 120 pesos a day by drinking coffee. Malakas ako uminom ng coffee. And then one day, someone pointed out to me, Kuyang, you always go to the coffee shop, you always drink 2-3 cups a day. Ang laki ng you spend a lot of money. And when I realized that, first I decided to cut back kasi yung BP ko tumataas. But second, I decided to buy Barako coffee in Lipa, and my coffee was much better. Anyway, we'll go for a quick break, and when we return, let's move from there. Let's reinforce the need for people to understand their spending behavior and then how to attack the future. We'll be right back here on Agenda.
The Philippines is reportedly on track to be one of the fastest growing economies in the Asia-Pacific region this year. But that, of course, also comes with some risks, such as China's slow economic recovery, a potential reacceleration of inflation due to Russia's exit from the Ukraine grain deal, India's rice export ban, and the El Nino phenomenon. According to Moody's Analytics, the expansion of the Philippine economy will mainly be supported by strong domestic demand and high infrastructure spending this year. Stable remittances and foreign direct investment are also expected to help support growth. But a report by HSBC Global Research says that in Southeast Asia, the Philippines has the least freedom when it comes to monetary policy. This has forced the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas to slash interest rates only when the US Federal Reserve starts doing so. Question now is, how should the country's economic landscape impact the Filipinos' spending and investing? Let's discuss that further on today's agenda.
Okay, bingo. Bingo. Fitz, come back to us. Bingo, because we were already talking about the consumption, the spending behavior of Filipinos. And a few months ago, Ramon Ang came out with was featured in an interview where he said, yung sa San Miguel, Ramon Ang, the boss of San Miguel, he said that ang problema sa mga Pilipino, mahilig tayo sa signature clothes, pili tayo ng bili ng top gadgets, etc. Let's go back to what we were saying. Yan, the economy is dependent on consumer spending. But how long can that sustain the economy if there is little growth or not a lot of manufacturing? And sabi, infrastructure, puro private sector yung infrastructure. So, go back to what you were saying, Fitz, about spending and consumption.
Yeah, ang isa sa mga measure na economy ng bansa is yung gross domestic product, which is basically ano ba yung value na pinuproduce nung country, no? Which is, when I say produce, not just products but also yung mga services na nare-render natin or napoproduce natin for other companies or other people. So, kung gagawin natin on a personal level, I think Filipinos should be more balance, meaning yes, gumagastos tayo sa mga everyday needs natin, but also sometimes we spend on some luxury. But it's also important that we take care of the creation or production side of us, meaning hindi lang tayo bumibili but also maybe see if we can produce something, create a business for ourselves, even a home-based business, or what are the services that I can offer? Ano ba yung mga freelancing gigs that I can do? Or maybe ano ba yung mga skills na pwede kong i-improve, things that I can learn so that I can earn more. I can probably get a higher paying salary. So just like yung nasabi ko kanina na there are things that are out of control, which is part of that is yung mga economic policies, mga fiscal policies na ilalabas ng government natin. But what is within our control is how we handle ourselves. Kasi if individually we are trying to improve our personal finance, I think that will have an impact in the overall economy kasi tayo rin namang mga tao ang nagko-consume ng mga products na pinuproduce natin.
What have you, sorry Fitz,
Yes.
ano ang mga nakita mong or ano yung mga red flag? Kumbaga, when you sit down with clients, with friends who ask for your advice, you do the assessment, you ask them, okay, show me your spending pattern or what you spend your money on for the last 3 weeks. So kailangan talaga diligently maglilista sila. They have to list down all the stuff they buy. Ideally, they say you should do it for over a 1-month period. Now,
Yes.
what do you call out? What are the things or how do you process it?
Yeah. What I usually do is go as basic as labeling yung mga expenses nila if it is a need or a want. And one of the red flags that I see is them labeling a want as a need. So isang example, I talk to a client, young urban professional, and nakita ko weekly nagpapa-massage siya. Pupunta siya sa spa. And tinanong ko siya, how do you define this expense? Para sa kanya, since stressful yung kanyang trabaho, for her, need yung massage niya o yung spa niya kasi it's a way for her to distress, relax, para mas ready siya for the work next week. So I told her na yes, it's very important to learn how to manage our stress, and I'm not saying na mali yung pagpunta mo sa spa every week, but I will now challenge you na have you ever thought of other ways to manage your stress? So I gave her example na ako, I've learned how to do meditation. I've also discovered that doing daily walks and having regular exercise, and especially having enough sleep, are great ways to manage stress. And of course, these things are more affordable than going to the spa. So yun yung mga red flags na nakikita ko na feeling nila necessary expenses ito, but
So,
they fail to challenge na baka may cheaper alternative, or it's just me saying na kailangan ko to, no? So that's something that our viewers could probably try to check pagdating sa
ano yung
expenses
mga
nila.
luho? What are the things that are not really necessary? Like, you know, ano ba yung mga klase ng mga coffee, macchiato ba yun or something? Hindi ko alam kung anong tawag doon, no? Or yung mga tea, mga milk teas, etc. And then even phones. I know people who are now waiting for iPhone 15. Sabi ko, hello, nasa 11 pa lang po ako. So, okay. So you notice already what are needs versus wants. Now, some people will say, why do I work so hard pa if it's all simply going to be what I need and not what I want? How do you address that?
Well, again, I recognize the fact that personal finance is personal. No? Na I cannot really dictate kung saan mo i-spend yung money mo. However, I do tell them to be honest with yourself, no? Know the real reason why you are spending this. For example, there are people who spend on expensive clothes not because they feel good about themselves pag sinusuot nila yan, but they just want to impress other people. So I think you have a wrong reason for doing so. It's okay to buy branded clothes if that makes you feel more confident, alam mo, that makes you feel good about yourself.
I shared a post on Facebook, Fitz, where I think it was a preacher or someone who said, who are you wearing? Hindi what label are you wearing? Who are you wearing? Are you wearing Michael Jordan? Are you wearing Pierre Cardin? It was a bit old, no? But his point was, you're not carrying yourself. You're not wearing Cito Beltran or Fitz, but you're wearing someone else's character, or you're trying to place that character by virtue of wearing the brand. So tama ka dun.
Yeah, so you just have to be honest with yourself kung ano ba yung reasons mo for your spending. Plus, something that I found helpful is making people realize that yung pera mo, you're actually choosing, no? For example, kung bibilhin ko ito, you're not just saying yes to this item, but you're also saying no to another item. So, may nakita kang sale na sneakers, mahilig ka sa sapatos, and you feel na deserve mo yon, no? Okay, I will not question that, but you also have to be aware na by saying yes to buying that sneakers, what are you saying no to? That's something that you have to realize, no? By spending my money on this pair of shoes, ano yung mga pwede ko sanang bilhin na sinasabi ko sa sarili ko na ayoko or no. For example, probably a summer outing with your friends next year, that's probably something that you're saying no to. So by realizing what are the things that you are denying yourself by buying something that you want, then you can make more mindful spending decision. So para sa akin naman is don't go into it na impulsively. I'm not saying na wag kang bumili ng mga branded clothes or wag kang magkape ng mahal, but make sure that you are doing this in full awareness na you're sacrificing another thing because you're choosing to spend
you're settling with the small things, the immediate things. Kumbaga okay na to, and you're missing an opportunity to have something bigger, more meaningful, or memorable. So you keep buying clothes or cheap watches or shoes or coffee, etc. And then if you actually saved all of that money and reduced drastically, you could save in 1 or 2 years enough money to go to Tokyo, go to
a dream vacation,
vacation, or maybe put down money for business, as they say. So
Yes.
so you assess, you write down all of your expenses, whether you're rich or poor, mga kaibigan. Malaking bagay ito yung malaman mo lang saan yung tama yung gasto, saan yung tinatapon mo lang yung pera mo kasi hindi naman kailangan branded, etc. Now, then you said, make the choice. Alin yung talagang dapat kong bilhin, alin yung hindi ko dapat bilhin. Then what's the next step, Fitz?
Well, of course, ang cash flow natin, two sides, no? There's our expenses and then there's our income. So after you've taken care of your expenses and you're on your way to reduce or minimize your spending, then look at the other side, yung income. So my first advice always is there a chance or an opportunity for you to ask for a higher salary sa boss mo? Kasi sometimes we just wait for the yearly evaluation, for the salary increase. But I've met people who tried to talk to their bosses and ask if they can have a salary increase. Sometimes it's given to them. So look at your income and start with asking for a salary raise. And then, of course, after that, evaluate your free time. So it all starts with your free time. Magkano or gaano ba kalaki yung free time na pwede kong gamitin to find or to build a second source of income or an extra source of income. Kasi people usually focus on ano ba yung pwede kong gawin? Ano ba yung pwede kong racket? Sa akin, mas simple na tanong is, ano ba yung free time ko? Kasi I don't want to take away time from spending it with your family, di ba? From your rest, etc. So, have an honest conversation with yourself, no? Yung free time ko, gaano karami? So, you can start with observing yung daily routines mo. Nakita mo na kapag uwi mo sa bahay, you spend 2 hours watching your TV series, or pag weekend, you binge watch a whole season. So sabi ko, I'm not saying you should stop watching TV, but for example, yung 2 hours na binge watching mo ng TV series every night, baka pwedeng 1 hour na lang, tas the other hour, you can use it to build something, to create an extra source of income. Yung whole day mong panunood ng
I
TV.
guess it's important that you set a goal, because I just want to share with our audience, Fitz. I'm following I believe it's in the book of Proverbs, where you are told by the writer, invest money and time on 7 to 8 ventures. Kumbaga, sabi niya, hindi nga side hustle lang hindi isang racket. Sabi dun sa Bible, 7 to 8, because you don't know what will happen. And one may click, one may fail, but if you have multiple income streams, and I just want to add to what you're saying, many people kasi think in terms of, hey, I need 1,000. But I know of one particular person that I work with. She sells eggs, she sells poultry, baboy, etc. And pinapanood ko, sabi ko, at the end of the day, if she writes down all of the stuff she sold in small quantities, I'm sure would have made 30 to 50,000 by the end of the year. because ganun karami na bebenta niya. And I think people need to take your advice regarding not just controlling cash out, but also increasing cash in. It doesn't necessarily have to be two jobs kasi we got so used to the American model of, double job, double income, double dead ka rin.
Mm. And additionally, when you're trying to create extra income, it doesn't have to be you. It can be a project for the whole household. Something that I've seen during the pandemic, yung mga breadwinners, no, may mga lumalapit sa akin, they're really worried na I need to earn extra income. So sabi ko, involve your family. Talk to your spouse or yung mga siblings mo. Think of ways, a home-based business that together you can do together. So a lot of these families are able to come up with a home-based business na tulong-tulong sila. So creating extra income doesn't have to be a solo project. It can be a family project, a household project, and that will really spell a lot of difference pagdating sa mga ideas, execution, sa type of extra income that you can do. So really important to talk to your family about it. Be open. I think that's something that should be normalized in the Filipino household, yung talking about personal finance. Kasi growing up, I remember my parents telling me na bata ka pa, hindi ka pwedeng sumama dito sa usapang pera. It's a taboo topic
mali.
yeah, 'di ba? It's a taboo topic on the dinner table. But I think it should be normalized, a conversation between parents and their children about personal finance, no? And
No,
something
and I think that's a good point, Fitz, no? Because I think we try to insulate our children regarding how hard it is to work, how much money we make, etc. People forget that you have to pay for electricity, you have to pay for water. Before you even get your salary, there is already a deduction, withholding tax, and then there's the income tax. And at the end, you think you're earning so many thousand pesos a month or 100,000 pesos a month, but in reality, you're maybe earning 50% because of all the things, all the bills you have to pay. And children don't know that. So yung children parang hingi lang ng hingi. I think that's a good point. Children should be part of the conversation regarding income, budgets, and expenses. Okay, what else?
Yeah, for me, you should also set your financial goals. Why are you doing all of this? At the end of the day, it's really to be able to afford the dreams and plans that you have for yourself and your family. One saving tip that I tell people is that set a specific goal, a concrete goal. Para saan ka nag-iipon? Why are you saving? Why are you investing? Because when there are spending temptations out there, it's more powerful to remind yourself another goal or the goal that you're saving for. I'm trying to save and invest because I want to buy a dream home for my family. Let's say that I'm just renting with my family, gusto kong bumili ng sarili kong bahay. So, every time there's a spending temptation na, uy, seat sale or, uy, sale ngayon sa mall, you just ask yourself, ano ba mas importante? Yung bagong bahay where my family could live or yung bagong sapatos na ako lang yung mag-e-enjoy, no? So,
what about mechanical or automated forced savings? Because some people have suggested, alam mo yung parang folder envelopes nabibili sa National where
yes.
you put a check for this, a check for that, a check for that, etc. So when you budget the money, every expense has a folder so that nakatabi na. In my case, I automated my saving. I decided, okay, this is my goal per year. This is the money I need to save, parang drop dead money. So every payday, X% automatically goes to this bank account. What do you suggest?
Yeah, that definitely can help. Yan din yung ginagawa ng nanay ko noon na pagbigay sa kanya ng sweldo ng tatay ko, meron siya mga envelope na ito yung pang-renovate ng kusina, ito yung bibilhin kong bagong appliance, etc. So that definitely can help, especially now na marami ng mga apps, even yung mga bank apps, they already have that feature where you can transfer money for a saving goal. So it all goes back to our goals. Ano ba yung gusto nating pag-ipunan? So
Mhm.
yes, automate our savings, meaning pagdating ng sweldo, you immediately save before you even spend for your daily cost, no? Sabi nga nila, yung saving formula is income minus savings is equal to expenses. So save first, pay yourself first, automate your savings na pagdating ng sweldo mo, ano ba yung mga goals ko na gusto kong pondohan. So you save money for that first, and then kung ano matira, yun yung i-budget natin for our daily expenses. And
Okay.
yeah, that will be more
Well,
better.
in my case, Fitz, what my wife and I do, first expense, first thing we do is we set aside, we pay the Lord already, 10% to the Lord. And after that, sinusunod na namin yung automated saving, and then of course covering the expenses. A lot of people say, ha? You automate, immediately nagbabayad ka ng tithes. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen. It is an exercise that gives you financial discipline when you're accountable to God, and when you follow what Fitz tells you to set your goal, and then you set aside the money and you prioritize and you don't waste your money on things you don't need, you will be happier after 1 year, maybe even 6 months. Quick question na lang, Fitz, we're running out of time. How long, how many months does it take before people, if people go to you, work with you, how long before they get on track?
Usually after around 3-4 months, that's when they actually feel that their finances is improving. And just like a consultation with a doctor, you will have follow-up checkup. So usually I do that after 6 months. We go back to the process of evaluating or analyzing their cash flow. And yeah, it takes time. I would say na to all the viewers out there, you have to be patient with yourself. It's not an overnight thing na mararamdaman mo kaagad, no? So you have to be consistent. That's more important. There will be days na napapagastos ka, na nagkaroon ka ng impulsive purchase. It's okay. The important thing is to be aware that you did that and then get back on track. But typically 4 months, yeah, they start to feel the benefits of them managing their money better.
Okay, Fitz, thank you very much. And I do hope to invite you back to the program in the future. And if you do have something planned coming up, please let us know. We'd be more than happy to feature you here again. Thank you, Mr. Fitz Villafuerte. God bless you, and may your tribe increase.
Thank you. And again, sa mga viewers natin, please take care of your personal finance kasi nobody knows how to take care of your money better than you. So good morning, everyone, and thank you, Cito, for inviting me again.
Okay, let's now go to our closing prayer for the week, and it is from the book. Okay, there you go. The first book of Peter, chapter 5, verses 6 to 7. Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that He may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. Ayan po, no? Iaangat kayo ni Lord sa tamang panahon. Don't rush. Don't be in a hurry. And we thank you for joining us this entire week. And we do hope you'll have a great weekend. God bless all of you. Please keep it here on One News.